Hey everyone, it's Amber from The Sensible Mama, and as the title suggests, today I'm going to be teaching you some of my tips for how to improve your mental toughness. So I was chatting with my Facebook group the other night when I went live, and I was talking about content ideas, and I just sort of floated the idea that I've been thinking about mental toughness lately, and a lot of people said they'd be interested in hearing sort of my tips on how to increase your mental toughness. So I've decided to do that today. If you're new here, just know that I'm not an expert on this kind of thing. I'm just a woman and a mom and a business owner who's trying to survive through a pandemic and a new normal and political tensions and just everything that we have going on right now. And I'm learning on my feet, but I always try to be helpful on this channel and just pass along useful nuggets that I'm gaining as I'm learning as I go. And today that's what I'm going to do regarding mental toughness. I think that with everything that's going on in the world right now, as I said, the pandemic probably top of the list, but also just civil and political unrest, all of the things going on around us are just challenging our mental toughness. But what I've started to realize is that when you are mentally tough, when you are centered on the inside, really just about anything could be going on external to you and you can pull through because your mental centeredness is not dependent on what's going on around you. The point is to not be shaken up by the things that are going on around us. And again, I need to work on this every single day. I hope it doesn't feel like I'm coming from a preachy or a judgy place on this one. I'm going to be reading from a file on my computer that I have been keeping for myself on ways to challenge myself to be more mentally tough because I need this too. So enough with the preamble, let's just get right into it. One of the first things that I think just really stretches you in terms of mental toughness is picking something that is hard but attainable and deciding to do it every single day. Routine is important for a lot of reasons, but pertaining specifically to mental toughness, what sticking to a routine does is it forces you to do that thing even on the days that you don't feel like it. And that's where the growth in the toughness department, I think, comes from. There are just so many things that you could do, and it doesn't have to be something hard. I really want to stress that point. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm gonna go run 5 miles every day. It could be something that you enjoy doing, but that sometimes you just don't carve out the time to do. Maybe it's spending 15 minutes reading 1 chapter out of a book a night, or doing 30 minutes of yoga, taking a shower every day. Pick something that feels restorative to you or feels healthy to you and determine to do it every day no matter how you feel. You'll find that having this routine will bring comfort to you because it brings normalcy, and feeling like things are normal and structured is very good for our mental health anyway. But the mental toughness element of that comes in on the days where you're too tired, too stressed out, too overwhelmed, too anxious, or just too over it to try to do something that you've said you would do that day. There is no satisfaction like when you finish doing something that you knew you should do and you didn't want to do, but you did it anyway. So for me, what I've been doing is my 100-day challenge, which I've talked about a little bit on this channel, but I've just been doing every day 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, and 100 squats, and I either break them up throughout the day in sets of 10, or I just make a workout out of it and I knock all of them out all at once. And there are days where I'm so excited to do it, I'm looking forward to it, and there are other days where I really don't. I feel sick to my stomach, or I don't know, I just had too much going on, it's bedtime, I don't want to do this now. But forcing myself to do it, saying I committed to myself that I would do this every day, and I'm going to honor that. I'm going to honor that promise I made to myself, that commitment I made to myself, and I'm going to do this. I put my head down on that pillow feeling so good, knowing that I toughed it out. I did something, made myself do something that I didn't want to do. And when you do that enough, your brain starts recognizing the truth of the fact that you can do hard things, you can do inconvenient things, and you can do things that you don't want to do, and you can survive it, and you actually feel better at the end. And for me, mental toughness comes from that. The next one I'm calling give restrictions and rewards. And I don't necessarily love either of those words, but I'm having a hard time thinking of better ones, so it is what it is. Let me tell you like a little story about me. If I let myself, I would have a dark beer every single night. I only want one, but I just want my dark beer. I want to pour it in an ice cold glass, and I just want to sit and watch garbage television, reality shows, beauty community drama, whatever it is. I just want to drink that beer, and it's like my alone time. But at some point I was starting to realize, like, am I doing this because I just love the taste, or am I doing this because I'm trying to self-regulate in some way? I was using it to unwind, and I thought that that was something healthy for me, but what I realized was that I was using that as a way to externally regulate myself, to externally bring down my stress or my worry or my anxiety without me having to put in any effort. Instead of sort of making myself figure out how to calm down and just be at peace, I was using that as the way to do it, and I just realized it wasn't worth it to do that. It wasn't smart, it wasn't healthy, I wasn't gonna do it anymore, so I just stopped, and now if I'm gonna have a beer, it's gonna be on a weekend only. And that means that no matter how good it sounds, no matter how stressed out I am, no matter what I have going on, I restrict myself from having it during the week. Now, my stress level doesn't change. Like I am just not going to naturally be able to be like, well, I can't have a beer to help me settle down, so I guess I just won't get stressed today. Like, I still have the same level of stress and anxiety that I always do, but what feels really good is now I'm finding better and healthier ways to channel that actually requires some dedication and some commitment on my part. Like, sort of naturally what ended up happening is, when I was sitting watching my garbage TV shows and not having a beer, I would find myself getting kind of like antsy. I would try to go get some water and drink that. That didn't really do it. And I realized, like, I've got all this like nervous energy. Why don't I just go hop on the treadmill? And now what I do is part of my restriction, I guess, part of what I do is that every single night I have an app on my phone. It's called Activity Tracker. It just tracks my steps, and I have a goal of doing 10,000 steps a day. And whatever I'm deficient on by the end of the day, I go hop on the treadmill and I knock out the rest of those steps. Now, I did not have my treadmill up until recently, and so until that time I was just walking and running in place. So don't let the absence of a treadmill be the excuse for not doing this or finding some other healthy outlet. What I love about this is I have found a way of dealing with my big feelings in a healthy way, number one, and number two, in a way that requires some mental toughness. It requires me to get up off of my butt and go get those steps in. And the reward, there's many rewards to this. One of them is the endorphin rush after doing a workout. Another one is just the feeling of satisfaction. I can't tell you how good it feels to be done with a treadmill workout and be like, I'm so tired, I'm at peace, I don't feel all that stressy energy anymore. I think I'm just gonna go to bed. And then the reward, the reward that is tied to the restriction then is on the weekends, I don't do those workouts. I don't hold myself to the 10,000 step a day rule. And if I want a beer at the end of the day, I have one. And in that case, it feels more like a reward instead of a habit, if that makes sense. So I would urge you to find something that you're doing. Maybe that is eating junk food. Maybe it's watching shows that are filling your mind with poison. In our house, we've kind of stopped watching the news for that reason, just for a little while. Just getting rid of something in your life that you are using to externally regulate your emotions. Get rid of it and find something healthy to replace it with. And then, importantly, let yourself have that thing sometimes. I'm reluctant to say this one because I know we're living in really tough times, but this one is probably the biggest one for me personally. You're gonna hate it. Force yourself to believe that someone disagreeing with you is not a personal attack. And I'm not saying this for any reason other than it builds so much mental toughness when you do this. If you want to be mentally tough, this is a mantra that you absolutely have to have, because let me tell you what, people will attack you for having a difference of opinion than them. That's just it. In order to be healthy yourself, you have to know that them disagreeing with you is not a reflection on you and it's not an attack on you. They just happen to disagree. And most importantly, if they are attacking you, if they're actually doing something to attack you for having a different point of view than them, what that means is that they have not yet learned that you having a different opinion than them is not a personal attack on them. You see that? It's crazy. Yes, there are absolutely certain things that we need to engage with people about: social justice, morality issues, they're just really important things that deserve our attention and deserve for us to be willing to fight for. But if we're really honest with ourselves, the majority of the things that we find ourselves bickering with other people about have nothing to do with those things. We just get sucked into the argument because we have kind of learned to feel attacked by someone having a different opinion than us. So just to pick a random example, like if I say, oh, we don't co-sleep, it didn't work out for our family, and someone else would feel the need to say, well, we co-sleep and here's the reason why. And then I feel like I have to defend the fact that I don't co-sleep. And at the end of the day, we're just like two parents raising our children differently because we have different preferences and ideologies or whatever. And like, it does me no harm that this person disagrees, and I mean no harm to that person because I disagree. We're just different, and that's okay. But we've lost sight of that somewhere. And I think that part of it is because we've lost sight of our mental toughness. We're just not able to hear someone else's different opinion anymore and just be like, well, you know, that's you do you, and not see it as a personal attack. I'm so guilty of this myself. So again, please don't let anybody think I'm judging over here. I just mean that like mental toughness really involves being so sure of yourself, being so confident in yourself and who you are that you're okay with somebody else not sharing your same opinion, because you just know that their opinion does not in any way reflect on you or mean badly of you. I've got so many friends who like agree with me on every single political ideology, morality issue, philosophy on life, like everything. We just mesh on everything, and I love those friends so much. But some of my most rewarding friendships have been with the people who really disagree with me on a few things. When all of this pandemic stuff started, I learned that me and my best friend, who I already knew had different political views, really had a difference of opinion about how certain policies should be enacted. And it was awkward having those conversations at first because she kind of felt like she had the sensible, reasonable solution and no other solution really made any sense at all. And I felt the same way about my opinion. And so it was almost bizarre for us to realize that we disagreed with each other, because for both of us, it seemed like there was really only one answer, and that was two different things for us. It was really our first big realization that where we realized that we disagreed on something big, and it hurt a little. Because to me, I started having all these questions about like, is our friendship going to be in trouble? Is she going to think less of me because I don't agree with her on this? Am I going to end up thinking less of her because she doesn't agree with me on this? It was really hard for us to not let that turn into a fight. And I think in my case, what's really hard about that is that I will do one of two things when conflict comes up. I will either completely shut down and just refuse to talk about it, and if the person wants to keep on, like, I will just stop speaking to them, or I will engage, but not really in a helpful way. I will start being defensive, and because I'm feeling defensive, I will get offensive, and it just devolves from there. So working through that, it was a big stretch in mental toughness for me and for her. I watched her go through that too. Just realizing that we were not going to let this become a fight, realizing that we were going to love each other through it. It took really loving each other. It took really listening to each other, and probably most importantly, in terms of the mental toughness piece of this, it took realizing that I loved my friend more than I loved the point I was trying to make. And I think our egos really get in the way here. And ego, I think, is the first thing that will subvert our mental toughness. That and our insecurities, which I think are probably linked. But it was really hard sometimes to just be like, hey, I love you so much. We're never gonna see eye to eye here. Let's just move on. When everything in me wanted to prove my point and everything in her wanted to prove her point. You know what I mean? We've always loved each other. But it took mental toughness to say, I will not be offended by your opinion being different than mine. I will not let myself go to the headspace of loving you any less because we disagree. And I will not let myself worry over whether or not you will like me any less because of this. And there was so much freedom for me in reaching that point of just being like, I love this person no matter what. And so I'm going to lean into this conversation. I'm going to be okay with having it because I'm going to trust and believe that two people who love each other can conquer these trivial, at the end of the day, trivial arguments. She and I aren't making policies. We're not the one, no one cares about our opinions. the only people being affected by this argument is her and I, and I've delved way, way further into this point than I wanted to. But I think that right now, in the day and age that we're living in, one of the best ways that we can practice our mental toughness, I'm not saying that this issue is like the thing that will give us mental toughness, but one of the best and most readily available ways for us to have opportunities to sharpen our mental toughness is to be willing to not be offended by other people's opinions that disagree, as long as it's not on a very, very important issue that deserves a fight over. And if we learn to just accept that another person disagreeing with us isn't a personal attack when it's about these trivial things, and we have to be okay with that. The last one that I want to talk about today is do things that feel scary to you. And this one sounds cliche to me, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. But I am a firm believer that things like this, these kind of like tips, they become cliche because enough people believe them that they just keep saying them. And I truly think that mental toughness is born out of doing things that make us uncomfortable. And if you look through all the other points that I've made today, a central theme of all of that is sitting with things that make us uncomfortable, sitting with that discomfort and learning to be okay with it. And this is just one more example of that. It's easy to let the scary things just kind of like float on by us. It's natural and it's comfortable to not take risks. That is absolutely for sure. But there's no growth in that. But in my opinion, learning that you can do hard things or scary things is a gift in itself. But learning, the actual learning process of going through that, of taking those first steps, whether literal or figurative, those first steps towards something that's scary, it builds so much mental toughness, and that in itself is a true gift too. It's that process that teaches mental toughness, how to overcome fear, how to do it even when it feels scary and uncertain and everything inside of you is telling you not to. It takes real mental toughness, and after you've conquered it, you have it forever. So the way that I would conclude this video, if there's anything that I would like challenge you to do, would be to think of something in your life that the idea of it makes you uncomfortable, the idea of it makes you afraid or nervous or something, some sort of negative emotion that's making you avoid it, and decide to just be with it. And when you're ready, decide to start working toward it. Maybe that thing is one of the things that I've listed here, or maybe it's something totally different. I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But I'm hopeful that this video today gave you some thoughts about how to build your mental toughness, how to become mentally tough so that when the world bumps up against you, you're just slightly bumped and not shattered. So guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you found it helpful. If you have questions or tips of your own, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. Love ya, mean it, always, mwah. And I'll see you in the next one.